All right, so this was the the question that seemed to give everybody trouble off of the homework. So we'll go ahead and talk about these again. Like I said in class today, these are pretty straightforward procedural questions. And by straightforward, I'm not saying if you struggled with them, that's not okay. I'm just saying there's not a lot of depth here. It's just pretty much process. So the ones that we struggled with seem to be E, F, G, and H. So let's just kind of go tackle those one at a time. So if I tackle F, which is the only one pertaining to inverse, okay, it's asking me to write the inverse of the function F. So if I'm going to write F inverse of X, what I really would love to know is more about F of X. And I know that F of X, if I look up there, equals 3X subtract 7. I can see that right up in here. So there's lots of ways to write the inverse function. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to, instead of viewing it as F of X equals, I'm going to view it as really like the output or just Y equals. That might help some of us. And actually, you know what, we can also, I guess, view this in multiple ways. So the function F, what it's doing to any number that I put in it is it's multiplying by 3 and then subtracting 7. And we can tell that because of the order of operations. And so that's why, we have 3x minus 7. So what that means for us is that the inverse function, is going to undo all those things. So it's actually going to have to add 7, and then it's going to divide by 3. And that's what it's going to do. So if you think about it, if I take x right here, just because x could represent any input, we're going to have x, and we're going to add 7 to it, and then divide by 3. And that would be F inverse of x. So this is one way I could come up with the function. Another way, what I realize is that we have y equals 3x minus 7. And so this is using some input here to find some output there. The inverse function will really use the output to find the input. So it's really going to be solved for x. So if we just rearrange this, I could add 7 to both sides. We'd have y plus 7 equals 3x. And then we could go ahead and divide both sides by 3. And we'll have y plus 7 over 3 equals x. But since it's the inverse function, the inputs and outputs get renamed. And so this is when I'm actually going to go ahead and change it to orange, because I'm actually inverting it at this point in time, because I'm renaming my inputs and outputs. So the y would actually become the input, which is x. Oh, and I actually had made a mistake when I wrote right there. I'm sorry, that's a 7. And that's going to be divided by, that's a 7. Divided by 3. Maybe I'll just go ahead and rewrite it. Plus 7 divided by 3 equals y. Because again, our inputs and outputs are getting renamed. X is getting renamed as y, and y is getting renamed as x. So these are two different ways to see that one. So hopefully this helps with the inverse question. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do the other ones in other videos. That way we just kind of break it up and people can get it in chunks.